Hey, welcome to the first real devlog on my biggest project yet, at PG, a totally normal puzzle game. I have something important to tell you at the end of the video, so stick out till the end. So let's begin. Since school is on hold these days, I've spent a lot of my free time on the game and made a lot of progress this month. Before this devlog, everything I was testing was on the first act of my game, but since I was restrained by level design, I couldn't test them properly. That's why I created a test map. It's fairly simple, but this way I can test new ideas quickly without worrying about breaking the map. At this point, it contains all I made so far, that is stable and ready to use, which is not very much, but it's okay, because it makes development way easier. Let's take a look at what I changed in the game first. The biggest one is the way I handle switching of dimension. Before, every block that needed to update on switching had its own update method, testing for a button to be pressed. But this technique was too expensive on the CPU because it had to do more than 50 tests for a button press every frame, and if I had to change the script on the block to add delay or even disable switch altogether, it would be too much work to do. What I did is that now, when the switching process is engaged and ready to go, I loop on all the game objects that has a switching script and launch a function in it that will do what I want. That means that switching dimension is now dependent of the player state, which made me possible to add delay on the switching process and add can switch boolean to test natural occurrences of blocking the process and a forced boolean when an outside script wants to block this behavior. Talking about natural occurrences, it's now impossible to switch under a platform, preventing clipping altogether, and it triggers a nice Minecraft-like animation. I love it. Also, the player movement speed is set to 0 while in the switching animation, because moving during the animation was really confusing and sickening for the player, since you didn't see where you were going anymore. But it's not the only thing I changed. Before, I had a gigantic trigger cube under the level to kill and respawn the player. Now, it's a simple script that checks if the player Y coordinate is under a determined number. Then, it engages the kill method, making it easy for me to change the Y level with a script and allowing more flexibility without having giant colliders under the level messing with my raycast. I also added a depth system in the game, meaning you can't see or access platforms who are more than 20 units higher than you, making the 2D movement less overpowered and chaotic to manage in the level design. I want to add some fading effects, but I don't know how to do it yet, so I'll see about it later. Since I updated the camera movement a while ago, I had something I wanted to change, but I can't seem to figure it out even when I spend hours on it. The thing is that when you are in 2D, I don't want the third-person camera to move in the y-axis, because when returning to the third person, the angle of the camera has changed. It's a small thing, not really important, but I really hope one day I could fix it. Let's take a look at what I really added of new to the game. Not long ago, I talked about a forced bool to disable switching via script. I added this for the next gameplay element, the switch blocker. It's a defined zone who disable your ability to switch altogether when in it. It's simple, but it adds a lot of depth to the puzzle I can design. I did some prototype shading and post-process. It's a little rough, but it represents the feel I want this zone to have. It's time for me to present the new big mechanic I coded into the game, data packs. They are the second biggest element of the puzzle I want to make. It's a thing already seen in all puzzle games, but with a twist. You see, I added a pickable cube and a pressure plate that can activate only by the defined cube. They are called data packs. But the twist is that you can stock 3 cubes at the same time, and that when you place them, they spawn under the player character, creating a tower for you to get high. You can't pick or place data packs in 2D or even change of dimension on one, making the 3D even more special. One of the other interesting things I discovered are that if you create a tower of data packs, they take some time before touching the ground, creating some delay for the plaster plate to be pressed. I don't have any idea on what to do with it, but I think it's an interesting mechanic that can make interesting puzzles. That wraps up all I did this month, but don't quit already. I said I had something to tell you. It's simple. The premium version of this devlog is uploaded right now on Patreon, talking about a lot of stuff showing on the screen. If you want to access this bonus content, you'll need to support me on Patreon, but don't worry, it's only bonus content. You won't miss any important stuff. But if you want to support me, I at least need to thank you with this. But it's not all. If you become my Patreon at a tier of $5 or more this month before the next devlog, you'll receive the reward for your tier, but with a legendary badge pack and signed postcard sent to your mailbox for absolutely free once the pandemic is down. Don't forget I have a Discord and a Twitch channel, check them out if you want more content. For the next few months, devlog will be released every first Saturday of the month at 4 PM CST. So see you next month, or on Patreon, or on Discord. Bye!